live in a very interesting age of rage bait and brain rot and slop. And I guess it should not be surprising that this has carried over to the Pokesphere. So, how did this happen? Well, a few years ago in SPL, Behe brought a Registeel lead, which was certainly a first for Advance OU against H-Clan. This is his first season of playing Advance in SPL too, so he was completely fearless. But what really makes this game go from unique because there's a Registeel here in serious play. That's really cool. Is that if you go to turn 63, I think it was around there, then Claydol comes in on the Blissey at Calm Minds. Okay, better get out of there. What am I going to go to? Oh, also a Registeel. So February 4th, 2023, big day for Advance. Not just Registeel showing up, but Registeel showing up in a mirror match of a very, very strange stall teams. Of course, the Behe structure is known as Virgin 5, which is a name I hate because there's few things I hate more than Pokemon players calling each other virgins. But yeah. Skarmory, Blissey, Dugtrio, Claydol, Milotic is such a strong set of five that you can use pretty much anything there. He threw on Registeel. Sometimes people used Metagross and CB for the boom, and then that makes the remaining 5v5 very easy for the Virgin 5 to win. But Registeel does a lot of things like reinforce things on the special side. Which might seem redundant with Blissey, but Blissey is a target of getting dugged by special offense. So Registeel reinforces that nicely. And of course, it survives basically everything. Its issue before was that, it's so passive, it doesn't do anything. But turns out Thunder Wave is basically an OHKO move, as we know. An Explosion is also an OHKO move. And it's got Seismic Toss, so it's got a lot of tools. And, there's just so much bulk on such amazing typing that you don't want it going to waste. Now, we're not going to finish this game because it goes on forever, and Behe eventually wins, 118 turns in. But about a week later, yes, February 12th, he brings it to SPL again against Triangles. Now, the team he brings Registeel on this time is what we associate Registeel with more now in the modern day, an offense team. Because one of the reasons many, including yours truly, have railed against physical offense, mixed offense, so much is that Snorlax is a piece of garbage, seen here doing a terrible job switching into Zapdos. And yeah, so once Snorlax goes down, and even then you're left so open to so much, and as good as your other physical threats are going to be, then you are left open to Calm Minders, you're left open to Zapdos or all sorts of special attacks. Mixed Ments in general, even with Snorlax around, Sand Up, Mixed Ments, God forbid their spikes. But with Registeel, then you basically have this pseudo Metagross that actually, T-Waves, number one, but takes special hits really nicely. So you have this kind of like secondary Snorlax / Metagross. And physical mixed offense still has their issues, of course, and their problems with breaking through defense are not going to be helped much by Registeel. But the fact of the matter is, if your issue with these kinds of offense teams is that Registeel, that you are really defensively inept against so much, then Registeel solves that really nicely because it is so bulky. You can pretty much make it do whatever you want, and it's got a deceptively good move pool. So, in this game you see it. You see the Claydol blowing up the Suicune, but I think, that was not even necessary because Registeel just tanks even boosted Suicune so easily. Even though it's got sub to take 2 seismic tosses, it's not breaking through anytime soon. So that was 2023. Now we're going to. I am not completely up to date on the what I see referred to as Zoomer offense, which in my old man um, from my old man perspective, I tend to interpret as slamming a bunch of cool Pokemon together and not really giving a care for if they're flawed or how they're flawed, because if you thought about how flawed they were, you wouldn't want to use it, right? Um, yeah. I don't know if that's a fair assessment or not, but I look at these teams, I'm like, how is this? And then I'm like, you know what? Not my fight anymore. Um, but now, recently, we saw Fudazi, aka Shitrock Enjoyer, but we're going to call him Fudazi, who is one of the most important figures in modern Advance, really pushing the metagame forward. He was featured very prominently in the video I did on Leech Seed 3 Attack Celebi. His style of Spike's offense, became, his name became kind of synonymous with the style of Spike's offense. So a major figure, and now he has gone away from his I can only use Spike's offense kind of reputation he was slapped with, maybe a little unfairly, a little fairly, and now has been an advocate for certain kinds of spikeless offenses. Now, during the baton pass debate, then there was a lot of talk. He talked a lot about how agility pass Aptos needs to be preserved because otherwise offense just sucks. Remember the Virgin 5, as you see here. Fittingly, in this replay, they are the ones that remain alive, while newcomer Registeel is the only one that faints. But yeah, this 5, minus Registeel, is has such a chokehold over offense that one of the few ways you really got by it with certain kinds of offenses is that after Dugtrio revenge kills something, Zapdos BPs and then passes that speed to something else, and then Dugtrio can no longer revenge kill it. So yeah, it seems weird that you would need to pass speed against such a slow team, but that's what Doug does, causes weird stuff. Anyway, so in this thread, which we're not going to go over in depth, I gotta say Fudazi's organizing skills or presentational skills are not the best for the written form, but you know what? He's so knowledgeable that, even though your eyes are at first going to go, my instant gratification, then please read through this because it's in the pinned comment if I haven't said that already. See, my old man brain, there it is. Which is crazy because I generally have a great memory. Well, so rather than get into that, get through it, and if you are interested in Modern Advance, you want to listen to this guy. Anyway, so basically the summation is that Zoomer offense has, I'm not saying it was all, junk, because I'm not qualified to say that at all. I'm saying that even some of the teams I saw, actually, I'm pretty sure in a recent video I did in Advance, I was really liking some of the teams that were being brought, which I would have to assume are Zoomers things. But then again, I didn't like the teams people tended to use back in the day either. So, just that. But yeah, okay. So here's a screenshot of Zoom. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not familiar with Demonstrations Man as a player. That's probably more an indication of where I am as opposed to them. But yeah, you see this kind of mixed offense thing. Whereas previously, it's a style that I rag on a lot because Dugtrio, special attackers, all that jazz. And I'm still not fully on board with this whole Raikou revival thing. I still think Raikou's kind of junk. And every time I see Raikou get used, the only reason it does anything is because it gets a lucky T-Bolt para and then starts subbing against the paralyzed Pokemon. But again, that's for another video, the return of Raikou or whatever, because I have not looked into that in depth. So while it looks weird to me, someone who is more currently in touch with Advance could probably tell you why. And you know what? Soon after this, then I will probably go look into what the deal with Raikou is. I might still find it dumb, I might not, but really it's up to you to decide what you think. So here we see a style of mixed offense that, has basically in the past, whenever it became popular, it was pretty much people just ignoring, whatever flaws it had. And I was like, guys, the same flaws are always there. It's like, oh no, now it's good, now it's not good. And I felt like I was being gaslit because people were quote unquote discovering, oh, actually I get completely shellacked by Starmie or whatever. And it's like, yeah, as opposed to before when Starmie didn't exist. But rather than reiterate that dilemma, we're now in the new, where the zoomer mixed offense thing seems to have found life or some sort of stability, specifically because of well, the speed of Raikou is very good. I'll give it that for sure. But also Registeel's bulk, so you can actually switch into things. Because the idea of, bulky offense, Snorlax and Metagross switch into things, but there's also so many offensive tactics that get past Snorlax and Metagross. And you see here, this team doesn't have either. So Registeel is a big part of it. Now, Registeel is not a mandatory part of this thread, which is about an evolution of mixed offense called Slop, which of course it's called that. But we'll go over that quickly. But again, you see now that Registeel is a no, I don't want that. Powers. My goddamn work computer always does this, and I touch, I hit the keyboard and it doesn't do anything. I have to turn it back on. Anyway, so as you see here, this is just a very specially bulky Registeel counter, and cool, yeah. You could say, Doug Trio rips this team apart, but I assume that is where we get into a debate about how DD Ments actually destroys everything after Doug Trio KOs something, and I'm like, really? And then I'm like, whatever. The particulars of that are not really relevant right now, so much as Registeel being a thing. A very good thing, and actually giving life to mixed offense. And while it's still really not my style, I think this is a lot more legitimate than the mixed offenses of the past, which I think mixed offense had its time before, when it was first like Phantomon discovered it, and then Triangles popularized it, and then some other players really liked it. But the more after people realized, after it became like a style that you knew, its weak points became very, very apparent, and then for me, it stopped really being worth using in almost all iterations. But yeah, Registeel makes it legitimate, so that's very cool. Now, the Doug Trio problem aside, and I wonder if we're ever going to get that Doug Trio suspect test. So this is not really about Slop itself. It's more about, the summary is that for modern mixed offense, which is very, very close to physical offense minus the Magneton, by the way, because the Menses are DD now, as opposed to mixed Ments, which, is such a signifier of the mixed offense style. So you have your T-Tar, your Ments, your Pert. I'm not saying the Ments has to be DD now, but it very often is, because again, Doug Trio punish. What else are you going to do? Very limited otherwise. Now, momentum reversal, Blissey checking, and here is where you see Metagross, and not just Registeel, but Regirock. And I think I've loved Regirock for a very long time. I give Triangles credit on that one as well. He was the first person I remember seeing use it. And then I played around with it, and I really, really liked it, and I am very glad to see it being, discovered, rediscovered, whatever. I don't think it ever really took off, which is a shame, because I think it's very cool. People have really gotten into Choice Band Superpower. The set back in the day was Curse 3 attacks, Curse Boom, a la Snorlax. But yeah, CB, very immediate. Regirock's got a lot of cool stuff it can do. It's got T-Wave. It's got counter, of course, insanely book in the physical side, and not really a slash on the special side, too. And again, what these two do very nicely is actually check mixed Ments. Much better. I mean, even though Registeel is weak to Fire Blast, it still checks it, a lot better than Metagross. Pivots into Dragon Claw. Regirock does nicely until it runs into Hydro Pump, of course. But few people use Hydro Ments, even though it's awesome. But yes, so now this team style, according to Fudazi, the best form of mixed offense, which I'm not going to disagree with at this point, although I won't be quite as strongly. I won't feel as strong, or I don't feel as strongly about it now. Good Lord. Yeah. Now there's talk about Aggron, but that just might be a little too deep in for now. Anyway, there's what I really appreciate about this thread is that there are no Pokepaste, few visuals, no replays even. This really just forces you to engage with the text, and I appreciate that. Wonderful stuff. So it is this is actually, it's called Slop Guide, but it's actually anti-slop. Because it commits so hard to its anti-aesthetic, let's say, analyzing it like an art piece. See, look at this. Whatever. I'll just turn it back on. Yeah, so you see that it's so committed to the material that it's presenting, as opposed to just trying to catch your eye with bright flashing lights or gifs or whatever. Very little in the visual and the make it easy for you to digest. The it demands that you really engage with it to reap the benefits of the knowledge. So bravo! It even says it's for experienced players in the intermediary level, but that's not about the presentation style so much as this is a team style that you're not really going to autopilot your way into winning with very often. So I'm waiting for the screen to go out, and then we're going to check out these two replays. Hi.
Hi, I just need to pass the keys right here. Is this door closed?
Yeah.
How can I open it? I can't.
You don't have your keys?
I don't have a keys because I'm the actor, so I just need to pass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second then.
I just like 5 seconds and then come back.
Yeah, sure. All right. Well, that was an unusual bathroom break, but yeah. So this is shit rock enjoyer Fudazi himself using Slop in what I assume was for a tournament just 5 days ago. So this is as current as it gets, pretty much. So yeah, we're not gonna go in depth into these two games, but he's got a Gengar here, which is not really a. I appreciate teams that use Gengar not for spin blocking, because it feels almost like too much of a post Gen 3 idea. And people forget that in current Gen Advance, Gengar was very good just because it was an attacker, or not just because that makes it sound too simplistic, but because it was a great Pokemon independent of spikes. It wasn't used to spin block back in the day. It was great with spikes, but not because it spin blocked, because there were fewer rapid spinners, because on Net Battle, rapid spin was blocked by substitute, which was a glitch. Anyway, so in this game, you see the power of Endeavor Swampert, which is a major, major feature of the Slop style. The Endeavor Swampert, it's a great Pokemon, but it just thuds so hard into so much defensive stuff, depending on the last move, and it's fairly unreliable. But against offense, it's killer, of course, as you see from how it turned a DD HP Grass T-Tar into +1 speed torrent range with a sub up. And yeah, now you also see how Registeel comes in. Well, if you're sacrificing your Swampert, doesn't have leftovers, is willingly subbing down to low health, then you're going to need some defensive backbone. And you are going to really appreciate Registeel for that reason, for the rock resist and the special check and the pretty much everything check. So, hey, you see here how it T-waved a Charizard switching in, completely ruined it, and now it's going to easily eat that +1 EQ from DD Ments and T-wave it, and set up Fudazi's own Ments. So actually, he's not even going to set up. He's just going to, I guess even if he gets HP iced, he can still beat it, maybe, or maybe it's Spadef DD Ments probably. So doesn't even DD. Wow, nice. So that was the first game. So you get a quick idea of what that was like. There's also a Gengar there, but see, that's why what I like the. Sorry, there's a Raikou there, but I also appreciate the Gengar here alongside Raikou because of that sort of special base. So there's more synergy than I find random Raikous that the way they're used now, without looking too much into it, of course. I remember in DPP for a long time there was this phenomenon of people randomly throwing Agility and Empoleon on offense teams without doing anything to really clear a path for it, just kind of hoping, oh well, Agility and Empoleon is really threatening, right? Which it is, and they would just kind of hope that it would clean up late game. And I was like, well, what is with this? The Empoleons would barely even make sense on these teams. Anyway, so in this next game, it's a little bit different of a slop team, but it's the same genre. So he's really committed to it and bring it, and shows that it's got a lot of variety, which variety for its own sake. If it's something I'm not really for, but competitively speaking, but when you have variety with purpose, then that's exactly. Oh yeah, Suicune drops to a +1. To a T-Bolt crit at +1 SPDF, which is unfortunate. But now here comes Registeel to chase out the Jolteon. I mean, it completely stuffs it. T-Waves the Vaporeon switch in, and it passes a sub, but the Vaporeon is basically out of commission now. Of course, now there's Gengar behind a sub, which Registeel is completely walled by. But yeah, here you see this is in the thread. I think Fudazi goes over. Jesus Christ, even Claydol gets crit KO'd. What the fuck? But yeah, he mentions how end pert is pretty much mandatory, but if you're not gonna use it, then you should be using Suicune and Claydol. But yeah, that's the highest level of slop, for only the most experienced slop gamers. Surprised we're not seeing the Aggron here. Anyway, this does have an end pert. It's end pert and Suicune. So I guess he really believes in how mandatory that is. Anyway. So here comes Registeel. Look at how just Registeel is completely stuffing everything here. So yeah, the and of course, actually, I think it dies to this +1 EQ. Yeah, so Registeel is not immortal, but I'm sure if people started using a bit of defense EVs, it would start doing ridiculous things against defense. Against earthquakes. So I'm not sure what that second sub was for, but whatever. That's not really the point here. I'm sure there was a point that I'm just not thinking about right now. Anyway, so once again, you see Slop succeeding as T-Tar switches into the HP Grass, and now Metagross has to come in and not take 2 EQs, but yeah. But that's basically it for this video. So thanks so much for watching. I'm interested to see where Registeel goes next. And Regirock. I hope Regirock keeps going. I know ABR is a fan. Yeah. So, like I said, variety with purpose is exactly what you want in the competitive world. So outside of the competitive world, it's a different story, and people are like, do we really need so much variety? I'm going to throw in a quick film rant. I try to keep track of what people are saying about movies, and it's like they're forcing all this diversity in our films. Ugh, it's so woke, and I'm just like, yeah, you are a fucking moron. In the last video, I was denouncing the manosphere at the beginning because you can't have that enough nowadays, apparently. Fucking backsliding like crazy. So now at the end of this video, we're gonna keep that tradition up, just in case anyone was having any doubts. Yeah, so thanks so much. Hope you enjoyed, and see you in the next one.